changed in StarCraft was the patrol key, whatever tells my guys to patrol. Instead of reaching all the way over to P on my keyboard, I made a Q because my hand hovers around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically all the numbers at the top, and shift and control and stuff, because that's how I'm able to do all the commands. But I know exactly what you mean, because in first-person shooter games, you need to have flawless and seamless control over your player movement. Basically, you need to basically have your WASD down where you can navigate your guy wherever the hell you want to go. You want to be able to hit shift to walk, crouch to or control to crouch, space to jump. You want to be able to have everything basically down to it's not even conscious anymore. It's unconscious behavior, subconscious act. You don't think, you just act, and that's what you meant by macro. No, exactly. It's not even just competitive gamers that do that. It's am I back?
Yeah, you're back. We heard most of that.
Yeah. Okay.
No, about the hotkeys though, you know what's funny about it, dude, is like every game that I've ever played, the default keys are like the noob hotkeys, and then there's more advanced hotkeys, right? So like even in Quake, right? You'd think a first-person shooter is simple, but in Quake, dude, most of the weapons are all bound like 1 through 0, right? And a good player changes that to like keys around WASD. So they have full control of all the main and crucial weapons that they need to swap to. You look in like StarCraft 2, granted, most of the default hotkeys are pretty good in StarCraft. There's still stuff like switching between bases, putting on tilde, a lot of pros. In fact, I think pretty much every Zerg pro that I've seen their hotkeys has that. You know what I'm talking about? So they can swap between their bases real quick, and you put that on a nice, easy hotkey. And then, like, of course, MMOs do. That's
I put that on my side mouse button. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah. You just cycle right between all the bases.
I don't like anything on my mouse for... I don't know why. It feels better to just do the main input control with my right hand and then the other input.
Because it's basically... It doesn't affect me any because it's basically I have two buttons on where my thumb is. I have one which is my push-to-talk key for Rumble when I'm talking on VoIP applications, so I can talk to my teammates or friends or whatever. And the other button is in StarCraft exclusively where it just cycles between bases. But I also use like the scroll wheel up in Counter-Strike, pulls out my flashbang. Scroll wheel down makes me jump. So you know, everyone, even casual gamers though, or people that don't play a game competitively, they will remap their keyboard. I know people that don't play with WASD, and they're you know, they played games in the 90s, so they still use the arrow keys for FPSs.
Jesus.
And you have, I know.
That's bad.
I don't know.
That's really bad.
Yeah, it's bad, but also
because you have no keys around it.
Let's say you're left-handed though. As a perfect example, I know several left-handed gamers that they have their whole keyboard like shifted and stuff, so they can have the mouse on the left, and they just use the arrow keys on the right.
Dude, I think left-handers have it made, and I'll tell you why real quick. For me, I don't know why, man, but just like the broadness of my shoulders or something, I feel like my mouse sometimes runs into the right side of my keyboard, and I almost wish there was more room. The left-handers, dude, they can have their keyboard and have like a fucking mile in between the edge of their keyboard and their mouse pad or their mouse.
Oh, absolutely. But
I mean, they never are gonna have like, you know what I'm saying? And if my arms are like out like this, you can't really see it on camera unless you look at stream. But then maybe like I would never run into like my keyboard and my mouse. But I'm not. I'm just like comfortable, ergonomic, and it still fucking runs in sometimes.
But do you like like if you're on your keyboard, do you want to reach out further where you're not really looking and it's like far away from your body, or do you want to reach inwards where you can actually get more controls? So that's where a left-handed person's coming. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So if you're so as we're right-handed, our hand is basically at the left side of our keyboard, and then we reach into all the controls and we have all those controls. But if you're saying like if you want to be left-handed,
I thought you were talking about mouse position. I thought you were talking about mouse position, dude.
Well,
dude, it doesn't matter. They can put their WASD and map it on anything.
Okay, but before we get carried off too far, basically what I was talking about with left-handed people is it ties in with how people basically map their keyboard, how they assign hotkeys, how they assign all the macro buttons. It's not something where it's only competitive gamers macro their characters or their bases or whatever game they're
No,
playing
it's not. I'm just saying it's
specifically.
important.
It can be anyone. Yeah,
It's
it's casual
important to do
gamers
it.
too. It could be its preference and its feel. It's why some people like um, hard pads versus cloth pads for a mouse pad, or
See,
mechanical
dude,
versus non-mechanical for keyboard. It's just all personal preference.
I don't think it matters what you make your keys. I think
It
it
doesn't.
matters that you make sure that you have your most important shit convenient, and that you get really like really coordinated with your hotkeys, right? And that it becomes subconscious, and that you can just do that shit without thinking, right? Because in games, dude, there's so much shit that you consciously have to think about and calculate in real time. I mean, this is stuff that, I mean, obviously Twitch and natural ability plays a big factor in how good of a gamer someone is, but also intelligence partly, and also how quick they are to think. And sometimes it's mathematics that you have to do, like in StarCraft 2. Often mathematics come up and you have to calculate shit really quickly to make the right decision that could potentially win you a game. And yeah, man, and it's like with hotkeys, you don't want to be thinking, oh, well, I want to do this, calculate something out, and then also have to fucking think about it, like what your hotkeys are for it. It just makes, it's just important that you know all your hotkeys really, really well, and that they're convenient for you.
Hmm. So basically, what we were talking about before Ryan left, and before we got on this tangent about hotkeys and macro buttons and stuff, is we're talking about basically cheesing for the win, getting that W, and how he was talking about killing that guy and then signing off right after. So I had written down here, like, is it for bragging rights, where you can say, look at my win-loss record, look at my frags or kills per round, look at what division I'm in. So have we all agreed that a large deal of it is for bragging rights?
Sure, there really can't be another reason, I think,
Okay.
for like
And
90% of people, I'd say.
and is it so that they can troll or talk shit? And this is a huge phenomenon that's just been arising lately. Troll. Like, what the fuck does a troll mean? Half the trolls I see are just dumbasses
Idiots.
who say something stupid and they're like, "Hey, I was just trolling," and they like, they're not actually trolling. They're just really fucking stupid. But
Yeah.
then you have other people that just play a certain way specifically to piss you off. They're not there to win. They're not there to lose. They're there to piss you off. Fucking griefers, I think that's what they're called. Griefers that come in just to fucking piss everyone off and then log off 5 minutes later. They go in and they feed their hero to the other team so that the other team gets stronger and just completely kicks your ass and makes you sit there and waste half an hour of your time or an
Sure.
hour of your time. Team kill you in first-person shooters or in a WoW raid or something. They just fucking run away. I don't know what they would have. Never played World of Warcraft, so I don't know how it would tie into that. But people that basically sabotage you, and they do this on a consistent basis, where they log in to grief you. They don't log into the play. They log into grief.
I don't know. I think it's all a waste of time. I just avoid those people, to be honest. I'm like pretty
But-
seasoned to trolls.
Yeah,
But-
griefing just sucks, but that's one way that people just engage the game. They just get on. I mean, what makes a cheater? In every MMO, one reason I quit playing Counter-Strike back in the day is because some guy came rolling through with his knife, but on warp speed. I mean, this predates Pump Buster, man. And I'm like, fuck that. Ever since, honestly, I never touched Counter-Strike since I got knifed like 20 times back to back by a guy I couldn't see. I mean, we stayed in for a minute just to put up the good fight. We tried to mow him down with our M60s or whatever we were carrying. But the fact is, he had the speed hack, and that's no good. So, people just engage the game that way. And, there's nothing you could do about it except die,
I think we should get on to news. What do you guys think?
Okay. Well, we can drift over there. Yeah.
You want to start with some Counter-Strike news or StarCraft? Actually, we'll start with the StarCraft. That's right.
Go for the
First
StarCraft.
thing, yeah. The first news I have is right now, the Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo, Brazil is happening, and let me look at my notes. Oh yeah. So there was a game between the Muslim, who is from Evil Geniuses, a famous Terran player, and I think it's Millennium Feast, who is a European Protoss player. And basically in the game, most people, and I'll explain this, Ryan, just because I know you haven't played that much StarCraft, if any.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So normally when people play in a tournament or they stream, they put their mode to Do Not Disturb. That means they can't receive any messages. It won't show up for them, right? So they can't be bothered while they're in a game. Well, Feast, the Protoss, got disconnected and then reconnected and went into the game and forgot to put Do Not Disturb on. And partway through the game, he got messaged by someone that was watching the tournament on stream and messaged him completely what his opponent was doing. Everything that he had, all his units, what he was going for, his weaknesses, everything. Basically revealed, everything going on that would give him a major advantage. And instead of just taking it and acting like he didn't see the message, he paused the game and notified everyone that he had gotten the message and revealed everything that he had to his opponent. And that was like a really
Manner.
yeah, it was a really manner thing to do, like, good sportsmanship, and people really cheered it on. They really embraced the action. So that's one
Hey,
piece of
quick
news.
question.
Yeah.
Just to get the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
I know Joshua sort of opined and helped you along with the word. It was a manner thing to do. So does that
Mannered.
replace honorable? Is that the deal?
Basically, yeah, on the
Yeah,
net, dude. There's
Good manners.
Haven't you ever heard of
Okay.
BM? Someone says, "Oh, I
Bad
got
manner.
BM'd."
Manner.
That means I got bad mannered, or you just say manner instead of good manner. You just say manner. So, like, if someone's being bad manner, someone's being a dickhead, they're being a douche, they're not being a sportsman, they say, hey, manner up, which means, like, check yourself. But, dude,
Sounds like
you got to
myself.
understand something. You got to understand something here, Ryan. In most games, there isn't sportsmanship like there is in StarCraft. StarCraft's like this one game out of pretty much every game I've ever played, except like competitive Quake. But besides that, where everyone is really, really well mannered.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone says good luck, have fun at the
Luck, have
beginning
fun.
of games. It's really considered bad to leave a game without saying GG, good game. It's like there's rules and people really follow it, man. Even in pubs and stuff like that. Pubs being public games. And yeah, like you just play on the ladder, you won't be in a tournament or anything like that, and you're still going to see that good manner, constantly.
Hey, real quick, may I interject a question?
Sure.
Okay, I was just wondering, is it even worthwhile to pick up StarCraft nowadays? I mean,
Fuck
the game's been
yeah.
out, 6-7 months, something like that?
Dude, it's so much
If you're-
fun. It's an awesome
If you're
game.
thinking of playing competitively and being at the top, it's going to be really, really hard. And it's something that I was even thinking, is it worth doing for me when I'm above average? But to spectate, I have several Counter-Strike friends that either don't play the game or just recently bought the game, but they've watched so many streams that they know exactly what's going on, and they actually enjoy watching the game. Like, it's really fun to watch high-level play because it's like
It's a story.
strategy, the meta game. It's crazy.
It's like watching a
it
TV
really
show.
is crazy.
Most entertaining game I've ever watched, Ryan, by far. No game has even come close to how entertaining it is. Like, I play games and I don't normally watch a lot of games, but StarCraft got me like watching more games and whatnot. Now I'm like even open to watching other
Especially
stuff.
with pro-caster duos like Day 9 and whoever the hell he goes
TWiG.
with, and DJ Way and Tastetosis.
Sure.
Like, if you actually watch with casters who actually bring some life into the cast,
it's awesome.
it's so fun to watch. You have 45,000 people watching Day 9 stream sometimes.
I have an extra account, dude. Go fucking install the shit and you can put it in my account. You don't even gotta buy it. Try it first if you
Okay,
want. Check it out.
back to what you were saying though,
The
Ryan.
game's sick.
Well, I would be very interested to play it. And the reason I'm, my thought process all started when you guys were talking about good manners.
It's really true, man.
I'm sorry, it sounds funny to me because it's like, we're having fucking tea or something. But, the last RTS game that I remember playing online was, oh shit. Well, it truly might have been Company of Heroes, but one before that, oh god, it's by Big Dog Games, if you guys know who that is. Rise of Legends.
No.
Rise of Legends. That's the last RTS that I played online. And the reason I quit playing this, and this kind of actually goes back to what Josh was asking before, why don't more people play competitively? So I'm playing this RTS online, and some guy did something where he had enough points, he was ahead of me, but then I had amassed a force ready to roll over his ball sack, and we got disconnected. Like, he did something, and he got the points. Honestly, I was like, fuck that. I was like thinking, let me get some ladder here, but it wasn't worth it. Once I realized people could do that, whatever he did, okay, to be honest, my memory's a little foggy on that point, but he manipulated me. I was honestly ready to own ass. And he basically backed out and ruined my opportunity. I thought, if people can do this, I'm not going to do it. Is that prevalent in StarCraft 2 or,
In StarCraft 2, no, it's not. In Warcraft 3, I know around the time I stopped playing it, basically, if you didn't have map hack or drop hack, then you were at a disadvantage. Because
like
everyone else did. It's not that. No, in StarCraft 2, basically you'll have one map hacker every 200 games. I think I got 2 in my career, and I have like maybe 1,000 games total.
You got to remember, Ryan, Blizzard is so on top of their game right now. And by game, I don't mean like the actual game. I mean like their game, like what they have going on. No. Yeah. I mean they're just what they're doing, dude. They are so on top of their shit that when it comes to anti-hacking, content, patches, fixing, dude, they are so on top of their shit. It's ridiculous, man. Blizzard is so ahead of the competition in that respect. And I'm not some Blizzard fanboy either. I mean, I'm becoming it just because the quality of their game is so good, even though I'm not a fan of World of Warcraft. But yeah, man, in that respect, dude, you don't have to worry about it. They are really they're the opposite of AV. Let me just put it that way, right? They're the opposite of AV. All right. Every way that AV fails, they succeed. All right, so I'm gonna go on to the next news. A little side note: tonight is GSTL, the Team League. So team versus team. Tonight's FX Open and ZenX. Just a little side news. Another piece of news we have is Evil Geniuses is known for doing their tournaments, right? They're a big competitive team, but they also do a tournament like, I don't know, once every 3 to 4 months, 5-6 months maybe at the most. And normally what they do is they have 1v1s, but then at the end of a series they have 2v2s. So like player 1 and player 2 from team X will verse player 1 and player 2 from team Y, right? To finish out the series. And they just announced their new tournament, but they removed the 2v2 setup. So that's no longer going to happen. What do you guys think about that? Josh, what do you think? I personally hate it. I love the 2v2s.
I've never been a fan of StarCraft 2v2s, and I have never really followed this tournament in specific. But I remember what you were telling me the other day about how there's a player who basically, I think we were talking about the featured versus non-featured lists on Team Liquid, and how there was a player who did all these 2v2s, and he was like, he was amazing at it.
Pro tech.
So so I think it's kind of sad that they took it out, but I don't think StarCraft 2 was meant to be. I don't think it scales well to team games. I think Warcraft 3 worked better as a team game because you could actually carry teleports around and heroes and creep and farm and all that stuff. But like as far as the 2v2 being removed, I can't say I'm distressed.
You gotta realize, for me, my view is like I love 2v2s. I love playing them. I love playing with friends. That's the only thing I don't like about laddering, which is 1v1ing, is like that interaction with friends and stuff. It just gets stale for me. And because I love 2v2s, I also really enjoy watching 2v2s, especially at the high level, man. It gets really competitive, so much coordination needed with your partner, etc. But most tournaments, dude, you don't see 2v2s. There's like none, man. They were like famous for having the 2v2 what would you call it, composition, I guess, going. So now that they removed that, there's really no more 2v2 tournaments around. That's pretty much it. So, and even though it wasn't centered around 2v2, 2v2 was just used as like a tiebreaker scenario. But still, I'm personally sad to see it go. Another piece of news is Alive who's a Terran player, top Terran player in Korea, is leaving TSL and joining Fnatic, which is obviously a North American team. I mean, yeah, that's not a big surprise. A lot of the Korean players are getting picked up, and Korean teams are working with North American and European teams and basically sharing rosters. So if a Korean player is playing in a tournament outside of Korea, they won't play under that Korean team's tag. They'll play under a tag of, whatever team they're aligned with that's in North America or Europe. And it's a way for players to get extra money, and also for, some teams to get some more representation by some really badass Korean players. If no real comments on that, I want to ask, what do you guys think about player salaries? Like right now, especially Ryan, in StarCraft 2, all the players, professional players on teams, their salaries are really never made public. It's really like this big private thing, hush hush, and if a rumor gets leaked and stuff, it's like it stirs up a bunch of shit. They really don't like the salaries to be made public. I personally think that the salaries should be public. I don't see there's any reason not to.
I don't see why you think that they should be public, though. I think they should be between the two people who have the contract, the organization and the player, or organization and the team. It's not for everyone else to know. It's none of their business, really. And what does it matter? Is basically my point. What are your reasons for wanting it to be public?
Dude, I'm a big fan of transparency, number one. But number two, how else are these players are going to start making more money, and is esports going to grow?
Okay, Apoc, you bring up a good point. You say, how is esports supposed to grow? It'd definitely be a boon to esports if people knew how much they could reap from playing. Mm-hmm. However, I find myself more or less falling in line with Joshua, is that it's nobody's fucking business. Like, you have a job. Should I know how much you make? Should you know how much I make? I know in Norway they do that. They publish it online. You can find out how much your neighbor makes. But that's not our culture here in America for those watching online. That's not what we do. And it doesn't feel good when people can just inquire to your salary and know the answer. But I agree with you just from the point of boosting e-games.
Esports, sure. But here's something to take a look at, man.
E-games.
Does Microsoft know how much Google's employees are getting paid? Yeah. Does Google's employees know how much Microsoft's employees getting paid? Yeah. So
okay, but why? Why do they know that?
Well, they're competing and they're staying. Yeah. That's how it grows. They're basically valuing someone that maybe is getting paid $30,000. If their competitor knows that, then maybe they're going to pay him $50,000. Then it's going to bounce back. That's how people get paid more, and that's how it grows. Number one. Number two, though. Hold on.
That's a different scenario. That's not public.
Yes.
Okay, but still, it's the same idea.
Get started, though.
It's the same idea of what I'm looking at. And second, dude, I'm not saying it should have to be public. I'm saying right now there are players that come out and say, listen, I have no problem with my salary being public. I have no problem. Let's put this on the record and say this is exactly how much I'm getting paid. And also teams have come forward and say, yeah, if we have players that are fine with it, and we'd be fine putting it out there. But it's like this big taboo.
Okay, first off,
everyone wants to know.
You're on a team. Let's say you're making $200K a year based on ads and contracts and whatever as a pro gamer. Totally making that up. So people that think that that's the number, don't think it, because I made it up. But let's just say you're making $200K for whatever reason, and contracts and whatever else you do. I'll tell you what. First of all, if you divulge that number, you are now appealing to guys like me who are ultra cash, who are like, oh, fuck, I can do $200K playing in Fairy Tale Land 24/7. All right, so you're going to up your competition. You might get kicked out of your slot. Not all people welcome competition. People get cozy after a while where they're at. And but number two, just going back to what I said earlier, is in our culture, in the American culture, people normally don't feel good about divulging how much they make.
Awesome, man. Back scratcher. That's great, dude. Well, dude, listen, if that was divulged and people were going out there and trying to take their spot, that only helps esports in multiple areas.
But does it help Joshua? They know he's pulling 200K. If I
Why not?
I knew Josh, that dude, was making $200K
And you're going for his spot, and he has to stay good.
Uppercut, okay? I mean, what? All right? You know, that doesn't behoove him. He's comfortable in his salary. He's driving whatever he's driving. He's got his nice pad. You know, he's got chicks. He's doing the whole thing.
Well, not Josh, but yeah.
Making $200K, everybody's like, oh, so this is a viable alternative to the daily grind. I'm like picking up trash, and people are looking down on me. Fuck, I might as well just sit on my computer all day, make $200K, own asses, gratify my ego, you know. But how does that help Josh, who's making the $200K?
Well, dude, the way it helps him, well, maybe not directly like that, the way you're putting it, but dude, it's going to force Josh to constantly improve, to stay on top of his game, and to really prove.
I bet you anything, if Josh is pulling in $200,000 a year off owning asses online, he likes that. And he's not going to want to have some usurper come around, not some usurper, many usurpers come around, a la emo LOL, okay, come up and just fucking take that from him, bitch slap him about, take the $200K, and now Josh is making 45 cents an hour. The second impact that could happen, I'm not saying it would, but if more people are competing in this venue, you're going to begin to slowly saturate the market, which means emo is no longer making $200K. Let's say he still stays top of the game. He's making $100K now because the market's saturated. Now, the only way that I can foresee, you know, off the top of my head to overcome that is if, according to Joshua's earlier request, is that that esports becomes more popular. But if it's not more popular, if it remains the same, then his revenue drops. Do you see what I'm saying?
There's a big difference between 200K and 15 million as what professional sports players make, right? Their salaries are public, but those salaries, like everything about that is.
Did it hurt it though?
Such a
there was a time when it wasn't public. Yeah, but there was a time when it wasn't public, right?
Okay, what happened when it went public? What was basically was there an influx of people that wanted to be professional sports players, or what was?
I'll tell you what. Yes. If you know you can make more money playing pro baseball, like my son, all right. It's not that we are guiding him to play pro sports, but I'll tell you what. If pro sports were making $50K a year, I wouldn't push it, like, let's say baseball, I wouldn't push him towards that, especially like fighting. If fighting was $50K a year, I would not push him towards that. It's not worth the shit it racks on your body. But, you know, with baseball, if he's making like 5 million, 10 million, 15 million a year playing fucking baseball, dude, I've already put it in his head. This is a viable career path, and we will try to nurture and cultivate those skills. And if he has them, we will progress them to a point where he becomes a viable candidate for, you know, the national sports. And if not, then we'll move towards whatever he seems to excel at. However, if baseball, for example, made 45K, 50K, I wouldn't be pushing that. I'd be pushing something like fucking math oriented, you know, or something else. Not that. Now, if you want to play baseball, I'd let him do it. But that's not the agenda I'd be pressing, because it's not conducive to an optimal lifestyle, which, you know, most people are pursuing. So, yeah, when you know people's salaries and what they can achieve, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to know, but it's bad for the person who's currently achieving it, because they will have newcomers trying to usurp their role. And when you have a ton of people who are skilled and talented, it will drop your value. It absolutely will. Now, like I said, though, earlier, in the case of esports, since we have, you know, this current level of media attention on esports, it's going to drop you. With baseball, there's so much media, so much hype, and the rates just keep going up. So I don't know if it's a problem for baseball, but with esports, it might be a problem. I'm not saying it would be, but it stands to reason that it could present more of an issue for people who are making 200K a year to actually be brought down. Now, if the media attention on esports actually increased and America, the world embracing it, like, oh yeah, this is fucking awesome, let's do it, then, you know, Joshua, who's making 200K now, next thing you know, he's making 400K, the market becomes saturated, he comes down to 300K, he's still making more than he was, and newcomers are welcome to make some money in this sport as it is. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, but there's plenty of room, dude. Like, there's so many angles on it that could be covered. I mean, you could literally talk on it for hours. But what it really boils down to, dude, is esports is growing. And it's not growing a little bit. It's blowing up in a big way. Especially, I mean, it's only being helped with sites like Twitch and Owned and whatnot. And all these tournaments covered. I mean, it's blowing up. There's no question about that. You can read about it on the net. But for it to be legitimized, right?
The first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You gotta
legitimized. There we go. I don't know why it sounds like it's not right, but anyways,
Works for me, dude.
they need to show what the players are making, man. That's how it's done in all other legitimate competitive, sports. And,
Hey,
and
quick
that's really
question
what they're
for
trying
you,
to go
Tom.
for.
What's Rashad Evans making?
I don't really know, but you know what though, dude?
There you go, dude.
You want to
Let's
know
go.
what? Oh, hold
There
on.
you go.
Google it. You want me to Google it right now and tell you what we're saying?
Yeah, do it.
Every fight about like 3 hours after the fight, sometimes even before the fight, they fucking show at Bodog, I think Sharedog, Sharedog.com, bro. They'll tell you what the fighters are making, and it's within like a 20% margin, they say.
Okay, fine. All right, but go back. Let's be extreme because that's always the most fun. Go back to UFC 1, where we know. Actually, we knew what the actual prize was. But go to, let's say, UFC 15. Did we know what those guys were making back then? Look, if people want to divulge this information, I'm fine with it. But if Josh is making 200K, he's like, I don't want to tell anybody. And if the person he's contracted with, his ad agencies and whatever, if they don't want to divulge it,
Yeah.
I don't think that we should force them. You said you're in favor of transparency. I don't see where we should force anybody. Knowing is nice. Look, I'm on your side. Knowing is nice, but I would not make it mandatory. That seems to override somebody's personal right to privacy. And you do have a modicum of privacy when you engage, in anything in life.
I agree.
It's,
But dude, I'm
Okay.
not saying break privacy. First of all, dude, I'm not saying break privacy. I'm saying if the player agrees to it, and because a lot of players have said they think it's good, and they're pro, everyone showing what their salaries are. If they agree to it and the team agrees to it and no one has beef, why can't they do it? It's like this big taboo. That's what my beef is, dude. And second, to answer you about Rashad Evans, the last fight he did, which was not last UFC, but the UFC before that, against Phil Davis, right? It was on UFC on
Right.
Fox.
right.
He got paid $410,000 as his base salary.
Okay, but as well as I do, those figures were not available. I might be a little wrong here. Let's say 2 years ago, those figures were not readily available. Would you kind of generally agree with that?
Well, the bigger it gets, the more, and the reason is,
There you
dude.
go. That's it, though.
Bigger it gets.
So we need to grow this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree
Sure,
with that.
I can see
If I'm making millions of dollars, absolutely disclose it. But if I'm making, in Counter-Strike in Europe, I know teams and players are making, some players on teams are making 1,000 or 1,500 euros.
Do you get a
month,
salary,
and
Josh?
others get 500. I don't know.
You don't
do
get a
not.
salary?
No one in North America in Counter-Strike stores makes salary, and 1.6, I think the only team that got it was EG in the most recent months, but EG, the 1.6 team, is dead.
Yeah.
So I don't think any Counter-Strike player in North America is currently salaried.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's the
interesting.
Counter-Strike as a competitive title is kind of
Phasing out, waiting for a go.
The sponsors and organizations aren't interested in Counter-Strike anymore. They're interested in the newer games. So StarCraft 2, like all the organizations that were dealing with Counter-Strike are now pouring all their money into StarCraft 2. So they're picking up more players and they're giving them salary. They're, picking up more players and covering their full expenses to LAN tournaments. And Counter-Strike's kind of getting whatever's left over. So, we'll get our plane tickets covered, but we won't get our hotel or something like that. It's kind of on the decline, but it's what happens when the game's 8 years old, and that's why CS:GO, when it comes out, and we can save this for another episode, it's really going to need a huge bang for sponsors and organizations to be like, hey man, fuck, we can get a lot of advertisement through these players We can start branding their names. Let's start getting into this game. Let's pick up some top teams and top players so people buy our products because that's who the players are using our products. That's what it has to be. And StarCraft 2 is fucking massive, but Counter-Strike, it's not that big anymore. So,
Well, I'm gonna
Hey,
jump.
kind of a question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bob.
I was gonna jump to the next news segment. Go ahead and say what you want to say.
Just real quick. So if StarCraft 2 is growing and there are economic gains to be made there for you, why don't you swap over as a pro gamer?
it will take a lot of time and a lot of dedication. Like right now, for me to catch up in like the meta game and everything, to perfect my micro, to perfect my macro, like it's StarCraft 2's got a huge learning curve, and there's giant skill gaps. So like a player in Grandmasters and Masters are kind of equivalent level, but like if you take a Grandmaster player and play against a Diamond level player or Platinum level player, they'll get fucking thrown out of the water. Like they won't stand a chance. And in other games like World of Warcraft or Dota or Han or something, where you buy specific items to your character that you control, then you at least have a chance against someone who might be more skilled, but you just have a better build than them. In StarCraft and in like Quake or something, you can literally run around them and they won't be able to touch you at all, just because you've perfected just every aspect of the game.
The tiers have big gaps.
Yeah, so I could, like, if I spent 3 months where I played like 3 hours per day and I grinded out like game after game on the ladder, just practicing and building my skill set, I could see from there if I had the potential to be at the very top. But that's a huge investment to do that, where right now I'm sitting on the best team in North America in Counter-Strike Source. I've competed internationally. I guess we have the third best team in the world currently. So for me to say, all right, I'm going to kind of sideline you when I get these opportunities to travel to Europe and all across North America to compete. I have an organization and I'm making income from what I do with Counter-Strike. For me to stop that, like, to play StarCraft, it just wouldn't make sense.
All right.
The money's there, though.
Earlier, you proposed the question, why don't more players try to engage at the tournament level? And I think here we have one answer. You mentioned that you currently don't seem to be willing to shift, even though your economic interests might lie in StarCraft 2 or some newer shooter or RTS. So why aren't you shifting? You can make more money. There's more people. Okay. It's populated. It's growing. So why aren't you shifting?
More potential in all areas.
Because I have more security being at the top of Counter-Strike Source and awaiting the next Counter-Strike title, which would be CSGO, and being at the top of that.
Why not do both?
And hoping money is in there, then, well, I could, but like lately I haven't had the time to play as much as I did like last year. Last year I played I'd wake up, roll out of bed, straight onto the comp and bang out like 8 hours in a row of games. But like lately I just haven't been playing games as much. And if I want to do this with StarCraft, I need to invest a lot of hours. But the thing is, I feel safe and I feel secure with my current position in Counter-Strike. And for me to sacrifice the best Counter-Strike team in North America to go out on a limb is risky for me. It's something that I definitely think about, consider, and try to invest time when I can, when it's safe to. But I'm talking about people that actually play ladder games 3 hours a night, 5 hours a night, where they're not attempting to become better, where they have the time and they're not sidelining anything, and they're 16 years old living with mommy and daddy, or they're in university and they've got a lot of spare time because they don't really go out and drink, or they don't hang out with people. I know plenty of people. I was that person last year and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. I lived in a house. I lived in dorm. I lived with people, and I there were phases where I was out every night drinking with them and doing stupid shit. And there were phases where for like a month or two straight, I would be sitting in my room and I'd only leave my room to take a piss, take a shit, take a shower, eat. And by eat I mean take the food back to my fucking room so I can game and eat at the same time. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know, like if I use those hours to invest in StarCraft 2, I don't think StarCraft 2 was around when I was living at university, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But if StarCraft 2 was out and I was playing it and I was living in that situation, by all means, I'd be fucking banging out so many hours during the day when I had the time to do it to improve my game. But right now, the only time I really have to play is at night, and that directly conflicts with another hobby of mine, which is Counter-Strike. And Counter-Strike, I do lessons.
Well, dude,
I do
there's a
the website,
solution.
I do streaming. I do all that stuff, and I play matches, and I practice, and all sorts of things. So it's
There's
hard.
a solution in the middle, dude. Put in some hours, whatever hours you can, and see where it goes. I mean, I don't know, man. If that's something you want to do, and it interests you, then I would say go for it. At least give it a try, because the money's definitely there, dude. There's no question about it. The salaries may not have been released publicly, but it's definitely been said by people on Evil Geniuses that guys like Idra are making into the six figures on salary alone. And Idra is one of the...
Yeah, he dropped a. Did you see that commercial he had?
Well,
with
dude,
Bugatti?
keep in mind here, Ryan, that this does not... First of all, this doesn't include any tournaments they win, and there are $100,000 tournaments out there, and there's a lot of tournaments between the range of $10,000 and $40,000 for placing in, first through third, right? That doesn't include that. That doesn't include any other side sponsorships that they have going, like commercials, stuff like that. And
Not
it
to
doesn't
mention the house
include...
that's fully paid for them.
Right. They're
Yeah.
all their stuff's covered, right? But it also doesn't include, Ryan, their streaming money, which is highly underestimated by a lot of people out there, especially more casual people. I don't think they realize how much money can be made at streaming. And there are guys on OWN that play League of Legends, and they're pub stars, meaning they just play public games, and they're not at the competitive level, but they rape face in pub games. And they stream and get a shit ton of viewers, and those guys are making near six figures just off ad revenue off their stream, just streaming them gaming all day.
Well, let me say this as a word of warning to current pro players: when salary prices are released, when we know, when the general public knows how much there is to be made, you guys are fucked. That's all I can say. There is a huge untapped potential. I mean, some of the things that you guys are saying are relatively new to me. A guy can only gather so much info out there. I mean, you take Joshua, for example. He is afraid, shaken in his boots, to go over StarCraft 2. He doesn't know what the total economic potential is. I mean, Joshua, if you knew that you were a god at StarCraft 2, are you still there, bro?
He's refreshing his cam.
Okay. If you knew that you were a god at StarCraft 2, a god, would you not shift over right now just to cash in?
Yeah.
Okay,
fuck?
you would. Okay,
Yeah,
and so as people learn
absolutely
about this economic potential, you guys better stay on top of your game. So while that might be fun to have people, like Randy Couture says, iron sharpens iron. While it might be nice to have people sharpen you and keep you at the top of your game, I'll tell you what, as soon as the masses realize what's going on, you guys are going to get fucking boned, dude, because I didn't know. And just because I'm casual doesn't mean I don't pay attention to what's going on. I have communications with people that, they touch different games and different aspects of game, like APOC, who I've kept in contact with over time, and some other people. And I didn't realize, we're talking six figures for fucking playing games.
Yeah,
and
that's the salary alone.
Yeah, that doesn't include certain elements that APOC already touched on. Yeah, once it really gets out there, that will be...
He's one of the highest paid players, though.
What's that?
He's one of the highest paid players, though. Keep in mind, he's one of the star players. He is the Evil Genius is one of the top teams here in North America, if not like the top team.
He's their poster boy.
Definitely in the top
he's
three.
In all
Yeah,
the
and he's
commercials
the
and everything.
he's the poster boy. He's like the top dog of the team. So that's like the high potential. That's like the fucking Kobe Bryant, right?
Okay, I understand that. But we were talking earlier about total media attention to e-gaming, and it's not there. You know what I'm saying? It is not there. So he is the top of the fucking garbage heap right now, and that is no insult to current players. But as I alluded to earlier, you know, we have UFC. Remember UFC 1? APOC. I know you watched that shit. You remember UFC 1? Compare it to the caliber of competitors now.
Oh, dude.
It's like it's a totally different game. It's fucking amazing the way it has evolved. So yeah, that's their poster boy, and that guy can spank my nuts left, right, up, down. I admit that, but compared to up and coming and where, you know, who really is out there, the diamonds in the rough, so to speak. Once this really reaches people's attention, I mean, guys like this Evil Genius dude, he could be a genius, he, you know, himself, and he could be really innately a very good player. But I'll tell you what, at least number 2, 3, 4, whatever, they're in danger. And that's going to be an awesome scene to watch unfold. You know, and one question I have for Joshua, okay, so you're clinging to this Counter-Strike as a revenue source and fun. Okay, what are you going to do if Counter-Strike Go blows balls? What's your backup?
Get a real job.
Really? Really, Josh? You're going to give up competitive gaming?
Like I would try to do competitive gaming in a different game, but I wouldn't start it off where I would have different priorities, right?
Not all your marbles in one basket, huh?
Yeah, so like I would think, okay, well, now that I have all this free time that I don't have these obligations to make, now I basically can reallocate this time towards other things. So if it happens to be that, you know, I'm in school and I need to just finish school real quick and then I get a job and I've got, you know, 10 hours a night or 5, 6, 7 hours a night that I can invest into StarCraft, and it's a really big game, and I have a lot of fun playing the game, and I expand my skill set to a certain level that I can compete, then yeah, instead of, you know, doing something else one night, like a movie night or bowling night or something, I might say, hang on, I want to play some StarCraft because I think that I have a chance at it, and, you know, I can get really big at it and go places with it. I know, doesn't White Raw have like a day job or something, or does he just make all his money through StarCraft?
No, he definitely does.
Yeah, so he has a day job and he plays the game.
It's like a part-time thing, though. He makes enough money from gaming. Are you kidding?
Oh, he makes tons of money.
He's bigger than Idra, man. He's bigger than Idra.
Fuck. He's got his own organization, doesn't he? Like he's
like the first guy that didn't like join a team. His team is a one-man team. It's the White Raw fucking team, and he's got sponsors and everything that just basically sponsor just him. They don't sponsor a team. They just sponsor one guy, fucking White Raw. He's ridiculous baller status. So, all right. Okay, I just read that. Yeah, there's one other announcement though. One other news. And that's that Nada is leaving OGS. Nada's like obviously one of the top players from StarCraft 1. He's a ridiculous boss, and who knows if it's because of, you know, his contract's expiring and they're not renewing it, or he's not renewing it. Who knows which, but as of February 1st, he's now like teamless. So
okay, and I got a bit of news that I figured I could bring into this now, especially when we just spoke about what's going on with, you know, when I leave Counter-Strike to play StarCraft, or you know, what's going on with that. So basically, there's a team in Counter-Strike. Actually, there's an organization that's multi-game platform. The organization's MTW. It's a German-based organization, and they have a Counter-Strike source team, and they removed. One of the players got removed from the roster. His last name is Lassie, and fuck me, I can't remember his alias, but he was a member of MTW, and he was quoted saying basically what happened is that 3 of the guys suddenly wanted to practice 5 nights a week. I'm currently studying and working part-time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So what they were asking me meant that I would have had to sacrifice a stable income in order to keep playing with MTW. I personally don't think 5 nights a week is sustainable over a long period of time, and I think we would have been fine with doing just 3 nights. Unfortunately, the majority of others thought otherwise, and it ended up being a complete no-brainer for me. Luckily for them, they've already found someone with massive amount of hours to spare in Weber, so Weber would be the replacement for him. So basically what he's saying is, I'm studying, I'm working part-time, and I have these 3 days a week that I can leave aside for playing Counter-Strike. And MTW is one of the teams that is salaried. They're a European organization, and they do decently well. Like, they place at events. I don't know what they've done lately, but I know that they do. They're decent. They're not like a complete ass cheek team. They've got skill in their skill set. So basically, how this ties into what we were talking about before is priorities, and he prioritizes school and work over Counter-Strike. Even though he's at the top, he's ready to set it aside because it's probably not going to generate as much income as university, or maybe it's not even about income. Maybe school and education is more valuable to him right now. Maybe he thinks he can hop into games later or something like that, or maybe he has a career goal in mind that will earn him more than taking the gamble at hopping into competitive StarCraft or competitive other game. So for me to make the switch from Counter-Strike to StarCraft, I'd have to just reassess and see how much time I had and if I wanted to spend my time with other things. And I guess that's what everyone's own personal, I guess, problems come into play with who actually ends up playing competitively and who doesn't. But in my case, if Counter-Strike just fucking died tomorrow, would I play competitively StarCraft? I'd definitely try it. But just from knowing how competitive it is, it's kind of scary. But you do have, like, if it grows and it's really fucking big where people are making millions, then it would be a completely different story for me. You have all these hockey players, basketball players, and football players and soccer players that make fucking millions of dollars playing their sports. And you have kids growing up playing those sports wanting to be like the next Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or who the Tim Tebow. I don't know any sports players. I don't follow that. I don't enjoy watching soccer on TV. I don't enjoy watching football or basketball or hockey. I enjoy playing soccer, but I don't enjoy spectating it. I enjoy spectating computer games. So yeah, if it's a matter of millions of dollars, then I can see everyone wanting to do it. But if it's only, two, 5 figures, then I don't know. It's a gamble.
Yeah, but what helps that grow, man? I think putting those salaries out there would help that grow.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe you've got a point there.
I mean, dude, if you're wanting to start a team, right, and break into the competitive world with a new esports team, how are you going to do that without, like, knowing salaries, knowing exactly what you're getting into, how much money you're going to have to come up with, how much you're going to have to raise from sponsors, how much you're going to have to, come up with yourself, basically float in the organization yourself to start it, etc. I mean, I don't know, man. I just like that transparency, dude. Just a fan of transparency. What can I say?
Okay.
Anyways, I think that's about it. Do you have any last words, Ryan? Or you want to talk about the peripherals next cast?
Yeah. Everybody who thought they enjoyed this cast, you're going to definitely want to come in next time we cast, because we're going to talk about shit where Joshua and Apoc are going to blow your minds. We're going to talk about peripherals, macros, and more in depth on that stuff. a side of what these guys are stewing up for you. So definitely tune in next time. We're going to hit on that big time. I'm going to show you guys some dinosaurs even. So it's going to be sweet.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, we said at the beginning of this cast is just for basically friends and whatnot, for us to get some response. See, kind of do more of a test trial run more than anything. So that's why this hasn't been advertised really anywhere. I think the only person that tweeted it was Ryan. So yeah, that's about it. Any final words,
I'm saying
Josh?
thanks. Oh, okay, go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
Was just
cut him
gonna
off,
just throw in there that it's definitely been fun. I can't wait till the next cast that we do. Can't wait to see what we decide to discuss on, and if we bring in any guests, I could maybe pull one from the Counter-Strike community. But yeah, it's definitely been fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to line up a guest for next show, set up some interview, and also have some better. I mean, I think just for us, have some better content and stuff laid out. This one we kind of winged it and put together stuff. I know I put together some stuff last minute. Would have rather get some better stuff. So I think it'll only get better from here.
Yeah, they loved it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time for sure.
All right, guys. Have a good night.